What's up, everybody? I'm happy you're here. This is great. I've been looking forward to this one since last week when I made the last one. Just to get it started, I am Green Bean. You are here to see me make a fool of myself, and I have every intention of doing just that for you. I am here in Orlando, Florida. Not really Orlando. This doesn't look like the Orlando you know, does it? I'm near Orlando. I'm in like the swamps. That's where I am. I'm in a swamp. There are alligators. I shit you not. There are alligators right there. They're there. So we're going to have a good time today. Today is the day where I make an actual prediction. Last week's podcast, as you may know by watching it or listening to it, I made a best case scenario. So from my perspective, what would put the Jets in the best position to succeed for 2021 and forward. So I wanted to do that to get that out of the way so you can see where my thoughts lie before I make a prediction video, so I can start to factor in some of the things I think Joe Douglas would do that may or may not agree with what I would do. Now, to get this started, I want to let you know I am a Joe Douglas fan. Many of you already know that, but I want to make that very clear. So far, Joe Douglas has done things very similarly to how I've been saying things need to be done for the longest time. The Jets GMs of our recent past seemingly were afraid to do things in the way that I saw they needed to be done. I needed a gutting. We always kept these scrubs around, or like we had emotional attachments to players. And, and really it's just, I felt we were confined, bound to these ideas from former GMs or what they thought Jets fans would get upset by and all that sort of stuff. I think Joe Douglas has done things pretty much in the way they needed to be done. If you look at this team from before Joe Douglas got here to today, they are completely different teams. Completely different teams. And not only player, personnel, coaching, that's obvious, but mentality, okay? When you look at things like free agency, Joe Douglas has changed the entire mindset of the way the Jets are perceived. Even if you look at something like the Deshaun Watson debacle, I'll call it. It's crazy, all this stuff. The fact that it's not laughed out of the room that Deshaun Watson could actually go to the Jets says all you need to know, okay? 18 months ago, 2 years ago, it'd be like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not going to the Jets. It would be one of those teams that are crossed off the list from the get-go. We would have no chance. Just like with Kirk Cousins, I don't know who actually believed that was going to happen. I knew from the second it was being talked about, there is no way this guy is coming here, if he has another option, to come here with this depleted roster and ruin the next 2 to 3 years of his career. It's just not happening. I thought it was better if we built through the draft anyway. But even, Kirk Cousins, I thought was a good quarterback. He was a 4,000-yard quarterback at Washington. And I thought he would be a good get, but there's just no way. I mean, there was no way. Did you see our offensive line then? He knew damn well that what was going to happen here. He was going to come here, get crushed, destroyed, smacked around. Mike McCagnon was a faker. Todd Bowles was a faker. I don't care what the Super Bowl is saying and all that sort of stuff. Todd Bowles was no coach for the Jets, okay? He might have learned something. His future is unwritten, and I'm not saying anything about his future. I'm just telling you, when he was here, he had 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years, 2 of which he talked out of retirement. Enough said. Enough said. Do I need to say anything else? Kerry Rodgers, do I need to say anything? Give me a break. Give me a break, okay? With revisionist history. Todd Bowles was Todd Bowles for the Jets. It was a different guy, and it didn't work. So Kirk Cousins wasn't coming. Now, we're about to move into what I actually think is the prediction, what I think is going to happen as best I can. Let's not forget, man, this stuff's hard. There's 100 and change free agents. We have, 50 guys on our roster. We have 19 free agents. There's 600 players in the draft. All those sorts of numbers, 31 teams we could trade with at any given time for any pick. It gets tough. It's convoluted, so we have to try to make sense of some of these trades? Do they make sense? These moves we're going to make. Knowing Joe Douglas, the little bit that we do know him, he's only been here a little over a year and a half, guys. So we can't pretend to know this man. We can see his background. We could look at Ozzie Newsome, see what he did. We can look at Roseman, see what whatever his fucking now. I'm telling you, I'm so burnt sometimes. The guy with the Eagles, Harvey, Roseman, Gary. Yeah. So we're gonna try to collect what we can by his previous moves, which are few. The trades, the acquisitions, the way he managed the draft, and the past, where he came from. And we try to make these connections to see what could make the best sense from our perspective. Now, it's hard not to taint this with my emotions because I'm emotionally attached to this team. You know, you are too, most of you. You know, I'm emotionally invested in this team. Damn, I became a fan when I was 10. I was a 10-year-old kid, like, I like football. I'm going to love the Jets, Mark Gastineau, Freeman McNeil. That's what I thought. I thought I was going to have a good time. I didn't know what the hell I was signing up for. So here I am. I want my little 10-year-old to be right. I want him to have made a good decision. I want to pet him. I want to love him, you little good boy. That's what I want to do. Unfortunately, I'm 48 years old. I haven't been able to do that yet. A little bit. Rex Ryan, Bill Parcells, a little bit. But so anyway, my favorite comment of the week was someone, I'll put it up here in the in editing. I forget his name right off the top of my head. I should have wrote this down. But my favorite comment of the week says, I remember the days before Green Bean was a sellout with all these commercials and everything. Because, you know, last week I put some affiliate links and stuff up there. So it's funny. I got a good laugh out of it. And it's funny, you know, because I listen to you guys. And I obviously read every comment. I mean, I'm still at that level, man. I'm trying to read every single comment. I try to reply to every comment that I can. Sometimes it gets away from me, but very rarely. I try to take the time till 4 in the morning and reply to you guys and everything. So I read this stuff and I think, you know, does this guy have a point or whatever? So I want to just let you know that I enjoyed the comment. I thank you for the comment that said, you know, basically Green Bean sucks and Green Bean's a sellout, man. I want to just make it clear I haven't made a penny off of any of this stuff. I think I have 4 cents in my podcast account, something like that, $1.40. So I haven't made any money or anything like that. My hope is that one day I can, but it's not happening yet. But I want to just make clear that people ask me stuff. So I'm trying to give you guys what you ask for. So I'm just going to put those affiliate links down there. One is TubeBuddy. It makes a lot of sense if you're starting a YouTube channel. It helps with all the analytics. It gives you a lot of information that you wouldn't generally have. But I just want to provide the information for you guys so you can have the same tools that took me a year and a half to figure out. So 4K Downloader is a good one if you're trying to get clips and stuff for your videos. It's helpful, man. It's helped me out a great deal. I've used it dozens and dozens of times. So I'll put those links in the description and in a pinned comment on the bottom, and you can take a look at my equipment and all that sort of stuff. But thank you for the comment, man. It's nice to know that you view me as a sellout because that means something's going, you know? What did Winston Churchill say? He said, if you don't have enemies, then you never stood for anything, you know? You gotta have. If you stand for anything, people are gonna disagree with you. And that's the way that it goes. So my last video, I stood for some stuff. I told you the way I see it. I gave you the numbers as I saw it, mentioning that numbers are not Green Bean's strong suit. Okay, I want to make sure that that's clear. I'm never saying these are rock solid numbers. I'm not Jason from Over the Cap. I'm not any of these guys. I look at their information and I add it up with a little calculator. Beep, boop, beep, boop. That's what I do. And I try to say, hey, well, you know, if this math works, generally, you know, if it doesn't work, it's totally fine. I'm just trying to give ideas so we can keep it into the sphere of what's realistic. Does that make sense? We're trying to keep it into a realistic sphere. So let us move on. What I want to start with now is getting right into my prediction video. Now, we're going to make a couple of these as the off-season progresses. But before free agency starts, which is March 17th, I want to really get into this and let you guys know what I think is going to happen. By the news I'm reading and the reports and the smoke screens and the rumors and all this, you know, all the stuff that's flooding our airwaves. I want to let you know the sense that I've made of it and what I think is going to happen. Now, I might even say that some of this is bold. These are bold predictions because we don't have anything to go on, right? We have bologna. We have a bunch of bologna sandwiches, and we're taking one and saying, one of these is prosciutto and fresh mozzarella and roasted peppers. But they all look like bologna. So we just got to guess. You know, we have to guess. Oh, this is the one. If it's not, well, I guess we eat bologna. But it's, you know, we're trying to make sense of this stuff. So let's get right into this. Now, last week, what I started with was free agency, and I wanted to let you know that our salary cap number, the way that it stands, is just under $68 million before any cuts, any additional cuts, and all that. Now that includes, the way that I read it on Over the Cap, that includes the $26.7 million that we're rolling over from last year. The collected number is $68 million. Once we make a whole bunch of cuts, we're going to be at about $88.6 million. Those cuts are going to be Henry Anderson, Alex Lewis, and maybe Fant or Van Roten if we do that. That gets us right around the $80 million. Plus we lose Sam Darnold's salary in this instance, but we're on the hook for most of Sam Darnold's salary, so it doesn't really help us. We get about $170,000 in relief. We pay the full $9 and change million, so that doesn't help us very much. Now, one of the interesting changes, I'm just going to start with this. One of the interesting changes from my best case to my prediction is that it's starting to look like Brian Poole might not be retained. I think it's a bad move. It's windy today. It's always windy here in Florida. Now, I want to let you know, too, as we transition to Joe Douglas being our GM, our real GM with the keys to the kingdom, we have to understand that his predecessors left us with boatloads of garbage, okay? So here we are in 2021. Do you remember names like Trumaine Johnson and Quincy Enunwa? I want to let you know these guys are still on our books for 2021. These are the contracts that Joe Douglas had to undo. People undervalue just how important it was for Joe Douglas to spend his time while the team sucked. He knew Adam Gase wasn't going to make it. He let him cook his own goose, all right? And he focused on cleaning out the closets while Adam Gase just put up one of the worst Jet seasons in our history, okay? It's the second worst season. In my opinion, it's even worse than the one in 15. It was garbage this season, especially when you look at the fact that we lost Trevor Lawrence and all this suckitude. Adam Gase is just the worst. So guys like Trumaine Johnson counts $8 million on our cap in 2021. Le'Veon Bell counts $4 million on our cap. Quincy Enunwa, $3.6 million on our 2021 cap. So what is that? That's $15.677 million that we can't spend because Mike Maccagnan put together contracts, gave guys injury guarantees while they were on injured reserve, paid a running back that didn't play for a year, the second richest contract for the position in NFL history. This is what he did. He was negotiating against himself, we found out later. There was nobody even in. He said the Ravens and the Raiders, that was bullshit. The Ravens were offering like $7 million a year or something like that was the report. They were light years, half. They were offering half. But Mike Maccagnan was out. He was negotiating against himself, and he ended up paying him the second richest contract for a running back in NFL history, behind only Todd Gurley. At the time. So these guys still count against our cap. So this is the type of stuff that Joe Douglas had to undo. Don't forget Andre Roberts and so many more. Henry Anderson getting off the books this year. Before this year, he was trapped. So now we can get him off the book and get that that $8.2 million off of our book. So this is good stuff. So let's get right into my off-season prediction video on how the Jets are going to do this thing, okay? You ready? You ready? Okay. We are going to get Deshaun Watson. It's bold prediction number one. He's already our quarterback the way I see it, okay? Now, I argue with guys all the time. I don't mean to argue with you guys. I want you to know I just disagree with you. So, it gets seemingly heated. I never feel any sort of way. If I'm ever discussing anything with you guys and it gets kind of tense, just know on this end, I'm never mad at you. Never. Guys get touchy out there. I've been on Jet Nation a long time, and the Greenhouse before that, and Rivals before that. I've been talking Jets football on the internet before it was cool, man. Before, like, the internet was a shell of itself. We were still using Netscape. Remember Netscape and AOL? I was on Jets message boards way back then when I was going through Netscape to get there. So I know how to temper this stuff. There used to be guys threatening to meet each other at the 3 o'clock bell. You know what I mean? Fucking, they would go out and say, meet at the bike rack. And they were literally talking about fist fighting each other over what? Vinny Testaverde and Chad Pennington. So I lived through all that stuff. I know how to hold my feelings back. And even when I seemingly am tense, you know, look, you can tell I'm from the same area most of you guys are. We sound that way. But I'm never mad. We have the number 2 overall pick. Who's next? Who's next best? The Miami Dolphins. They just put a whole bunch of infrastructure work into supporting Tua Tagovailoa. Now, does that mean that they wouldn't trade for Deshaun Watson if they got a sweet deal? No, it does not. But that means that they're not willing to sacrifice their entire future for Deshaun Watson because they have a young quarterback in the house, arguably the greatest quarterback in Alabama history, okay? They just hired his high school football coach, his high school quarterback coach to be, that's the only reason the guy was hired. Now, it's not such an important hire that they couldn't move on, but it shows that that's the direction that they're going. But let's say they were willing to trade for Deshaun Watson, and they offer all this stuff. Yeah, we're going to give you 18. We're going to give you our third, our second. We're going to give you next year's first and second. Great. You know where it leaves the Texans? Hoping we don't take their guy. Here's the deal that we're going to offer the Texans, and here's the deal that they're going to take when they realize that any other deal is dumb, because then they're going to make all those trades, trade away their guy, and still not even know what quarterback they're going to get. They're not going to do it, in my opinion. So here's our offer. You ready? Let me get it up for you guys. All right. We are going to trade this year's second overall pick and pick 66, which is our first third-round pick. We're going to trade that. Next year's first and third. So they're still getting 2 firsts. They're still getting 2 thirds. You have to pay for them. But, okay, it's a subdued deal. The second overall this year and the 66th overall this year. We're going to give them our first next year, the Jets first. We'll keep Seattle's because they're going to go 0-7 to start the year next year. Anyway, you'll see. They're going to go 4-12 next year. We're going to get a top 5 pick for Seattle. That's crazy. That's not part of the bid. That's just an extra bonus blurb. So we'll give them next year's first from the Jets and next year's third. And we're going to throw in a defensive lineman, probably John Franklin Myers. Lots of potential there. And that's going to get Deshaun Watson over here. We're losing 1 first and 1 third this year, 1 first and 1 third next year, and that's a wrap, okay? That's the wrap. So we're going to get him. Now, I want to point out something. Deshaun Watson, if I understand this correctly, only counts about $10 million on our cap this year. Okay, 10 and change. The Texans, the prorated bonus and all that gets accelerated to this year, and they paid $21 or $21 million for Deshaun Watson if they trade him this year. But then they're clean, they're good. After this year, basically what this boils down to is a 3-year, $82.4 million contract, okay? So it's not that bad. There are years with $35 million, $36. So this contract is not that bad of a contract when you think of what the franchise quarterbacks are getting these days, okay? So in this year, when the salary cap is going down, this is a great contract. Now, the Texans are already, if they keep him, they're paying him $17 million this year. If they trade him, they're paying $21 million this year. So it's $5 million for them to trade him or so, okay? But it makes a bunch of sense because they gain the picks and they lose the future years of the future cap ramifications. So they lose all that. So it's really just $5 million. They're already paying the $17 million, so it's only $5 million for them. I know only, but you know the numbers we're talking about here. So we bring in Deshaun Watson for 2 firsts, 2 thirds, John Franklin Myers. You don't believe me? You'll see. You'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's what I think is going to happen. I think it might even be less than that. I think I'm being generous. I've been affected by you guys. I've been affected. This is not even what I think is the best deal. I'm doing this for you. I'm coming toward you. You bastards. You're ruining my damn gig. So anyway, let's just settle there. You think 3-4. I got guys telling me it's no less than 4 firsts. Well, I'll tell you what. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. If Miami wants to give him 4 firsts, let them overpay, dude. Don't overpay. Now, interestingly, when I traded those picks, so just for this year, what that's going to do, it's going to take away our number 2 overall pick, and it's going to take away the first of our 2 thirds. Let me tell you something. That makes it hard. It makes it hard to fill all the gaps that you want to fill in the draft. So the next move we're going to make is we are going to trade Sam Darnold. We're going to trade Sam Darnold to the Washington football team, and we're going to trade Sam and a 4th, which is pick, let me see here. We're going to trade Sam Darnold and pick number 97, which is our 4th round pick this year, to the Washington football team for pick number 19. Now, I want you to know, if you value Sam Darnold as a late first, right around 25, this makes perfect sense numerically. It's a little bit light. It's a little bit light, but it's a quarterback. So you could, it's like 30 points light or something like that. Let's do it. So you got, if you value Sam Darnold at pick 25, that's 720 draft value points on the Jimmy Johnson draft chart, which is what we're using here, okay? I know there are others, but we stick with this one. It seems like the easiest to play with, all right? So Sam Darnold is worth 720 points. Pick 97 is worth 112 points, which gets us to 832. Pick number 19 is worth 875. So you see that we're right 40 points away kind of a thing. And they can try to talk you into another pick or something like that. In my opinion, you just say no, and they'll take it because they're getting the quarterback and an additional pick. All right? So that's what I see happening. So we've gained pick number 19. So now what we have is pick 19 and 23 going into the draft. All right. Now, this off-season free agency period, we're going to have to figure some things out. We got to know, do we think C.J. Mosley's the guy? From what I understand, C.J. Mosley was at the Jets facility chit-chatting with Robert Saleh last week. What'd you think of that news? You see him? He was there. This is what I think is going on there. Now, we have a lot of question marks with C.J. Mosley. He hasn't played football in 2 years, and when he did, he was injured that first of the 2 years, okay? Now, last year, seemingly, he could have recouped. Who knows? He could have been sitting around eating potato chips, for all I know. He could be a big fat fatty. For all we know, he could have gained 78 pounds. We don't know that. He did say in a tweet, I have to figure out how to find that fire again, which means Adam Gase sucks. That's what I hear. And this guy, Adam Gase, is a complete tool, and I can't stand being in the building with him. I'm going to take the year off. They already paid me $10 million, and I'm going to watch this guy cook his own goose, and I'm going to come back next year. We hired Robert Saleh, who is about the best motivator that you can imagine the Jets having. You heard the Kyle Juszczyk interview. He said, and I quote, Robert Saleh's pregame speeches are the best, and they make you want to smash your head through a table or light yourself on fire. Interesting. Mosley's looking for the fire, and Juszczyk's over there lighting himself on fire. Sounds like a good match to me. So I think if we have a shot to recapture C.J. Mosley, Robert Saleh is about as good of an option as we're going to get. So I think he's going to come back, and I think he's going to play well. Don't forget, he's one of the best inside linebackers in the game when he's healthy. We saw him for 3 quarters, man. He had a pick for a touchdown, a fumble recovery, a whole bunch of tackles, passes defense. He was everywhere. It's really a shame. But we know what kind of impact he can have. So he's going to come in and play for us. So he's going to be our Mike, okay? So what do we do in free agency? Now, last week I said in my best case scenario that the defensive end, I think our defensive linemen, we're going to be looking for 5 techniques. We're not going to be going for the outside linebacker types because Robert Saleh likes to employ a 4-2-5, okay? And there are variations of that, of course, but that's the base defense. So 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. That's what we're looking at. And we can do this. I mean, we have the personnel because we're actually weak in the linebacker group. Let me not get ahead of myself. So last week, what I said was I wanted to sign Yannick Ngakoue in my best case scenario. Now, I still think he's a possibility, but here's the problem with Yannick. from my perspective. I think Joe Douglas watched what he did to the Jaguars, getting out of there, arguing with the owner on Twitter or whatever it was. That's not going to fly. He dealt with the same thing with Jamal Adams, and he's not looking to bring that on. Now, he's been a good boy since he got out of Jacksonville. That's true. He went over to Minnesota. They traded him to Minnesota. He was a good boy up there. They bounced him down to Baltimore. He was a good boy there. He didn't say, this is bullshit. I wouldn't have done this. He didn't say any of that stuff. He kept quiet. So it seems the problem was Jacksonville. So he's redeemable. At the same time, I don't know if Joe Douglas is going to bite on signing a guy like that, especially when he's going to be fighting for a premium. There was talk about $20 million a year. That's not happening this year with the salary cap drop. So I think while he's possible, I think a more realistic and likely option for the defensive end position is Solomon Thomas coming over from San Fran. Brace yourself. We're going to get a few guys from San Fran in this offseason, in my opinion. So we're going to grab Solomon Thomas. I'm not going to get bogged down with the numbers this week. It was like Semanticville last week, and that's my fault. Again, I'm weak in the numbers. So let me not even play with it. We touched on the grand, the overall grand scheme type numbers, the details on whose contract's going to be what for how many years. Let's just leave that to somebody else. So I think we're going to end up signing Solomon Thomas to play one of the defensive end positions. I think the wide receiver that we're going to grab, and we're going to grab at least one, is going to be Curtis Samuel. I do not think Allen Robinson's coming. I think it's going to be too rich for Joe Douglas's blood. I think it's not going to work. He'd be great. I just don't see it happening. I don't see him doing all of what I would like him to do in reality. So he's going to sign Curtis Samuel, and he might even sign two if he signs two, because getting Deshaun Watson, that really brings Will Fuller into the game, and he creates an X factor with Will Fuller coming over. They might want to keep that band together. They're a good duo, man. 53 catches, 879 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and that was not even in 16 games. Hopefully he can be healthy. He hasn't been healthy yet, so there's that. But I think that's what we're looking at wide receiver. Curtis Samuel is my lock, and Will Fuller is an X factor. He might come as well. I do think Joe Douglas is going to land Joe Thuney. I think that's his priority free agent after the quarterback situation. I think that he's going to make a huge play for Joe Thuney, and I think Joe Thuney is going to be all into talking with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. I think these are the guys that are going to get him. I think that everybody knows they're not fakers. They mean business, and they're going to turn this thing around. And Joe Thuney is going to say, you know what? I think that'd be a good plan. Let me help you guys turn around this shithole. After we've laughed at you for the past 5 years I've been on the Patriots. So for cornerback, I think we're going to do some addressing of cornerback in free agency, because it's going to be tough in the draft. Again, with losing the picks, even though we're going to gain some picks with some moves, we already gained pick 19, it's still going to be tough to address all the positions, and we had to make some choices. So I think that we're going to go over to San Francisco. We are going to grab Richard Sherman. Not so much for his on-the-field play, but he's still a good cornerback. But I think it's more about implementation of systems and philosophy. Sherman's about as good of a cheerleader as Saleh has. And then he's going to court his other buddy, Jason Verrett. And they're going to come over here together as a cornerback duo. And they're going to be part of the 4-2-5 situation out there with May. And we'll get to that in a minute. So that's our free agent class. We are going to retain our players, Marcus May, Neville Hewitt. We're going to retain Pat Elflein. We're going to retain Harvey Lange and Tarell Basham. As you know, last week I did have Brian Poole on that list, but I don't see it. The reports are unfortunate, but I think they're probably true. Even though there's smokescreen all over the place, I just feel like this one's true. There was also reports that Brian Poole was looking to get the hell out of Dodge. So those two things combined, I just think it makes sense. He's probably going to want to try to break the bank this year, and Joe Douglas isn't going to do it, especially with what I see as the replacement plan, okay? So we're going to retain those guys. We're going to cut, like I said, Henry Anderson and some others. So that's our free agent class, and that's our retaining the free agents that we're going to retain as well. It still gives us about a +5 in the comp pick equation, which is really nice. Now, we might have to fill some of that out maybe drop it a little bit, but being a +5 gives you a really good shot to gain some comp picks for next year. I think it's possible, guys. I think that a lot of guys are going to get cut. So we might not even choose to sign the free agent version of these positions. We might wait to see guys get cut. We might make some late round trades. I think that's going to happen as well. But I left those off of this prediction vid. It's real hard to get into. I do think, you want to know what I think? I think here's a bold prediction for you. I think Lattimore's coming. And I think if Lattimore comes, Jason Verrett is out. It's fine with me. But I think we're going to work a deal for Marshawn Lattimore. That's what I think from the Saints. Take a look at him if you don't know who I'm talking about. I know you know. But that's what I think. So this gives us the following picks in the NFL draft. 19 from Washington. 23, 34, 86, 129, 137, and 172. So we have 7 picks in the draft. Again, we are starting with pick 19 because we traded Sam Darnold and a 4th to the Washington football team. I'm not going to do a simulator for you because I want to give you my predictions. I don't want the simulator to get in the mix and start telling me what's going on. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. This is going to be tough, man, because there's a lot of names out there and there's a lot of ways you can go. But here's my prediction on how it's going to go. I think with pick number 19, we are going to bolster our offensive line without question, in my opinion. But we're not going to go tackle. We're going to go with the guard. Even though we brought in Joe Thuney, we're going to get the best guard in the class, Wyatt Davis, or if he's taken, we're going to grab Rashawn Slater. And I think either one I'm totally fine with. Rashawn Slater actually is a tackle, but he's rumored to be switching over to guard. They're both 6'4", both 315 pounds. They're almost identical body types. Both very, very rock-solid players, and I'd be happy with either one. I think that pick 23, Joe Douglas is going to start feeling the heat with losing out on the mid-round picks, and he's going to make a trade. Okay, he had his first-round pick. He grabbed his offensive lineman, and he's going to use this pick to gain some capital. He's going to work with a previous team he worked for. We're going to talk to the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're going to trade back with Philly. They're going to come up and grab pick 23, and we are going to gain pick 37. So they're going to use their second-round pick, switch with us with pick 23. For the right to do that, they're going to give us pick 69 and a 2021 4th-round pick. The money, the points are right on. Okay, we're right there. It might even be identical. It's like right there. Okay, so we're going to trade back with Philly for pick 37, 69, and a 2022 4th. I meant, not 21. Sorry about that. Now here's where people are going to get pissed. And I think it's the truth. This is my prediction, man. This is not my best case. It's going to sound like my best case, but it's a prediction. I think that Kittle is about as important to the Shanahan offense as any position, any player out there. And I think that Kyle Pitts is going to be gone, and we're going to grab the next tight end in the class. One of my favorite players in the entire draft. We are grabbing with pick 34, Pat Freiermuth out of Penn State. Are you ready for this guy? 6'5", 250-pound pass catching, blocking, inline blocking dynamo. He's about as good at everything as you'd ever want. He's 250 pounds. He's 6'5". He's a huge target, and he loves the game of football. So that's it. We're going to grab Wyatt Davis and Pat Freiermuth. You want to talk about shoring things up for the offense right there for Deshaun Watson. So now we got Deshaun Watson, Curtis Samuel, Pat Freiermuth, Wyatt Davis, Joe Thuney. You see what I'm doing here? Okay, now at pick 37 that we gained from the Eagles, we are going to take Carlos Basham, a nice, good 5-tech, 6'5", 285 pounds, or if he's gone, which he might be, we'll grab Patrick Jones, 6'5", 260 out of Pitt. So I'm thinking that edge is the way to go, but we're looking at in-the-dirt defensive ends as opposed to outside linebacker types, and I think that that's the way that they're going to go, and I think 37 is about where they're going to do it. Okay, pick 69 that we also gained from the Eagles. We're going to go ahead and grab a big-bodied wide receiver that Joe Douglas likes out of Auburn, Seth Williams, 6'2", 224 pounds. Or they might want to bump it down and go in the slot after adding some of these, some wide receivers. They might want to get that Ayuk type of a player if he's there. They might choose to grab Rondale Moore out of Purdue. And I like him a whole bunch as well. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We're going to need to pay some attention to the linebackers. Yes, we re-signed Neville Hewitt. Yes, Blake Glassman is on the team. But what are we going to do in here? We need some guys that are going to stick around, guys that are going to play all 16 games, and we need them to be better than Neville Hewitt. Neville Hewitt's fantastic coming off the bench. He's great depth. He's not a great starter. So I think he's great to have on the team. But I think we're going to go ahead and go linebacker here. We're going to go to Northwestern. After all of our research, digging into their head coach over there, we learned about a player named Patty Fisher, the inside linebacker out of Northwestern, 6'4", 246 pounds, a tackling machine right next to C.J. Mosley for that 2 linebacker set that we're going to employ. And it's exciting. It's exciting. Now we have to address Brian Poole. Don't think that I forgot. We have to address him. If we're going to let him go, we got to bring somebody in. Pick 129 is the perfect place to grab ball-hawking Cary Vincent out of LSU. I think he would be a fantastic get, and he'll start from day one. He'll make some mistakes, but he's going to start. He's 5'10", 182 pounds, about as good of a slot corner or a nickel corner as you're going to find. Then we're going to start backing up the offensive line at pick 137. We're going to grab Trey Hill, the center out of Georgia. We're getting ready for McGovern to leave in 2 years. And then at pick 172, we are going to get a steal. We're going to go to Virginia Tech and grab Divine Diablo, the safety out of Virginia Tech. He models his play after one Jamal Adams, interestingly enough, but the difference is he can catch. So there's that. He said, yeah, I want to hit, I want to tackle, I want to do all that like Jamal Adams. I'm going to work on catching a little bit. So he has 4 picks last year, I think it was, and 55 tackles. He's a tackling machine, very, very sure tackler, and I like him a whole bunch. Now, what position did we forget there? We forgot running back. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. With the needs on the team, I couldn't use the pick. Chuba Hubbard was there when I took Patty Fisher. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. And as far as our needs on the team, I think that we're going to be able to get an undrafted free agent to come in with LaMichael Pirine, Ty Johnson, and Josh Adams. So I'm going to give you 5 undrafted free agents. I nailed 1 last year. I shouldn't say that. I think a guy that I had going to us in the late rounds did come to as an undrafted free agent, which was cool. Lamar Jackson. And he's better than that game, man. They shouldn't have left him on that island like that, the poor kid. So I think he's going to stick around. But anyway, let's get right into this. I think the first priority undrafted free agent we're going to bring in is kicker Riley Patterson out of Memphis. If we can get the guy out of Miami, even better. I think he's going to get drafted in the 6th or 7th round. And I don't think Joe Douglas is going to do that this year. Too many needs, too many holes, too much invested into the quarterback. We're going to have to do some stuff. We're not going to waste a year of Deshaun Watson. So we're going to bolster the team. I know, kicker's important. I'm with you. I think that Joe Douglas so far has undervalued the kicker position. So I wouldn't be upset, but I don't see it, guys. I think that we're going to go and make that a priority signing. Riley Patterson, Memphis. We're going to grab a running back, Deion Jackson out of Duke, 5'10", 220, great balance, lays the pop. He's not the shiftiest guy in the world, but I think adding him to the stable would be more than adequate. He's a hard runner. He lays the pop at the end, which I like. He's got good burst. And again, he's got great balance after the first hit. He can seemingly keep going, which is nice. Somebody comes in and they don't wrap their arms. You're going to miss that tackle, and I like that about him. It's a big-bodied guy, strong, 5'10", 220. We're going to grab a linebacker, Shaq Smith out of Maryland, 6'1", 245. Another good guy I'd like to see brought on the team. One of my favorite names in the draft, the forgotten man on the LSU depth chart for a receiver, Racey McMath, 6'3", 224-pound dynamic guy, man. And he's not getting enough press, and I think he would be a great get. The guys like Lawrence Cager that we tried to bring on last year, he said, look, the guy can't stay healthy. I think it's a shame. I think it's an absolute shame. But the truth is the truth. Racey McMath is going to come on and replace guys like him and try to work his way onto the roster. And we're also going to grab a cornerback, Kelvin Joseph, who may be drafted, but I think he has real possibility to slide outside of the draft. He's out of Kentucky, 6'1", 192-pound cornerback who is very talented. A lot of people write me about this guy, asking me to check him out. I did. I like him. I just don't know if he's going to be drafted. There are a lot of top, really good cornerbacks in this draft, and I think that he's way down on the list, and just by the law of numbers, you know what I mean? He's going to just be bounced out into undrafted free agent. He's the kind of guy you give $20,000 to sign with you in the undrafted free agent pool. So we got Riley Patterson, Deion Jackson, Shaq Smith, Racey McMath, Kelvin Joseph, Market. Those are the guys we're bringing in. I'm going to nail off 5. What do you think of that? Okay, so let me tell you our roster after we did all this madness. You want to hear our roster? It gets convoluted. You can get lost in the sauce here. So let me tell you this. This is our roster. I'll give you a couple backups and stuff as well, but I'll give you the starting roster. Starting quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Backup, Joe Flacco. We're going to keep him. Okay, we're going to keep Joe Flacco, and we also have James Morgan to back him up. Our starting running back in the stable is going to be Ty Johnson. He's going to get the most carries. He's going to be the lead back with obviously guys like LaMichael Pirine, Josh Adams, and Deion Jackson behind him. It's going to be a good year. Wide receiver, we have Curtis Samuel, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder, who we're keeping, by the way. I don't see it. I don't see the need. I don't see the reason. Jamison Crowder earned it. Keep him. Makes no sense. You want to give him, he did. He's a great outlet. He's one of the better slot receivers in this league, and I don't see the reason. If it gets too rich and you need it, fine, but I don't see it. Keeping Crowder. So we have Curtis Samuel, Denzel Mims, Crowder, and Seth Williams as your starting receivers, and we'll keep guys, you know, maybe if, like I said, if we sign Will Fuller, maybe instead of Samuel, I'm not sure. And then guys like Racey McMath and, you know, Berrios, they're going to stay on the team. Okay, and round out, we're going to keep probably 5, maybe even 6 this year. All right, so left tackle, we have Becton being backed up by Edoga. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get him off the team. I wanted to. I had every intention of doing it. It didn't happen for me, so we'll keep him around as a swing tackle this year again. Wyatt Davis starting at left guard with Cam Clark backing him up. McGovern with Trey Hill backing up center. Joe Thuney with Van Roten backing up right guard. Right tackle is George Fant. Remember in my previous video, I cut George Fant, regained $7.3 million, and then added $2.7 to grab Darrell Williams. I don't see that as all that realistic. It'd be nice. I think we're just going to keep Fant, and Joe Douglas is going to support one of his first moves it's literally his first move in free agency last year, and he's not going to, you know, he's not going to push the guy off the team for no reason. So I think he played well, and it's a good move. Okay, so we'll have George Fant again with Edoga backing him up. He's a nice swing tackle. All right. Tight end, we're going to have Freiermuth backed up by Herndon and Wesco. Guys like Griffin and Brown, they're gone. See you later. Goodbye. Okay? And let's see what Herndon feels with Freiermuth in front of him and with Wesco up his ass. Let's see what goes on there. Let's see. Are you going to show up? Are you going to show up or not? If not, go with Herndon. Everybody loves Herndon. I don't know why. I want to like him, but what did he do? He had 39 catches his rookie year. He was injured, got you know, part of that year, and then he had you know, he played one game, not even a couple plays his second year. Last year he couldn't catch a damn cold until the last 3 games of the season. Herndon slid to the 4th round with all that talent for a reason. Okay, there are negatives, and we're seeing them. Rooting for him. Nothing would make me happier, but let's keep things in realistic perspective here. So for defense, we're going to have our right defensive end is going to be Carlos Basham or Patrick Jones, whoever we bring in from the draft. We're going to have Foley Fadukasi at the 1 tackle spot, Quinn Williams at the other tackle spot, Solomon Thomas on the left side of the line. Middle line, the Mike will be C.J. Mosley. The will be Patty Fisher, the guy I brought in from the draft. we're going to have cornerbacks of Bryce Hall, Lamar Jackson, or Blasson Austin. We've got to do it one more year. Or if we get Lattimore, woo! Okay? Or maybe Verrett. Okay? We'll dance with that. Carrie Vincent is going to replace Poole at the nickel spot. And we're going to have the safeties, Marcus May, Divine Diablo, and Ashton Davis. Because don't forget, the 4-2-5 doesn't always have 3 cornerbacks on the field. Sometimes it could have safeties, and Ashton Davis is a perfect player for that kind of alignment to get speed and ball ability on the field. I would actually venture to guess that we might see 3 safeties quite a bit this year, with if this is the case. So there you have it, and our kicker is going to be Riley Patterson. You heard it here first, unless everybody else is talking about Riley Patterson. I haven't heard it yet. Maybe, you never know. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of my prediction video? We got a good quarterback, we got a good tight end, we got a damn good offensive line, we got a solid stable of running backs, got great receivers, defense. We're addressing the edge before the cornerback position. Now, I'm not one to minimize the importance of the cornerback position, okay? I happen to love Bryce Hall as a starting cornerback in this league. Love him. Loved them before the draft, loved them in 2018, loved them last year, loved them in the draft, loved them in the 5th round when we took them, loved them last year on the field, making that pick, learning the game, playing disciplined football, and I love him as our starting cornerback next year. I'm not worried about Bryce Hall. But here's the thing the Jets never do. We never support the edge to bolster the cornerbacks. Stop with the cornerbacks. The way I see it is the cornerbacks are playing, it's like defense. We're playing back. I want attacking defense. That's what I want. I want edge. I want to crush the quarterback. I want them to throw errant passes. I want them to run for their lives. That's what I want. I want Quinnen Williams and Patrick Jones to smash these guys. That's what I want. I want nobody being able to run through our defensive line. CJ Mosley come. That's what I want. Let the cornerbacks clean it up. That's what I want. Okay? So yes, I addressed cornerback, not as a priority because the priority was edge. Brought in Solomon Thomas, Carlos Basham, or Patrick Jones. Okay? We got Quinnen Williams, Foley Fadukasi. That's what we want to bring. Okay? That's what we're bringing. We still got Bryce Huff and Taro Basham on the team, man. They can come in and spell guys in different packages and stuff like that. Pin their ears back and go get them. Telling you, that's the way to do it, and we'll see how that goes. Guys, I loved doing this. This was a labor of love. I'll tell you, I know everybody's not going to agree with it. That's fine. I would love to hear your predictions. Truly, what do you? Not just what we want to happen. It's more difficult to say what you think's going to happen. That's what I found. I liked doing what I want to happen. That's a blast. But when you sit there and you look at the numbers and you're trying, it's like, I can't do that. And do I really think Joe Douglas is going to go get Ngakoue after all that? So you have to factor these things in to make the best assessment that you can. And it's more difficult in my experience. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your comments. As you probably already know, if you comment on one of my videos, you're going to more than likely hear back from me. I love talking to you guys. Any business inquiries, just email me at greenbeanjetsfan@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I have more views than subscribers. So what that tells me is a lot of you guys aren't subscribing. It's a little red button right below the video. Boop! It takes 1 second. Just hit that subscribe button. It changes everything for me. Really it does. It gives me a lot of ability to do different things on YouTube. They have all these parameters and stuff. I can add community posts and polls and memberships, all kinds of cool shit. So anyway, please do that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jet Nation YouTube as well. I put out weekly videos over there with them. You can go to jetnation.com, get in the conversation. There's more Jet Talk consolidated in one place at jetnation.com than anywhere else in the world. That's undeniable. It's the largest independent fan site in the entire NFL. Our Jets own that. And it's at jetnation.com. And you can follow my full-time coaster tour. I got 2 theme parks. Don't tell my kids. It's a surprise. I have 2 theme parks coming up this week. I can't let them watch this video now. I have 2 theme parks coming up this week, but I didn't tell them. 2, 3, maybe. 3. So I'll make videos for that, let you know what we're doing out there. That's at Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube. Please like and subscribe over there as well. I would greatly appreciate it. And all that being said, get into this, have a good time. Let me know what you think. Go Jets.